What's good, YouTube? Back again with another video. Keep this short, simple, and sweet in terms of an intro, like I usually try to. This is from a YouTuber that's on the rise in the NASCAR field. His name is Elite Precision 29. He makes a lot of good content that I've watched in the past, and this is his newest video that came out called The Bounceback King, featuring Dale Earnhardt Jr. I wanted to actually watch it with y'all and give my insight and my opinion on some of the things he's talking about. So let's jump right into it.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has had a very eventful racing career with plenty of highs and plenty of lows. He scored 26 career cup wins and was a top 10 driver throughout most of his career, but never won a championship. Because of who his father was, he gets heavily criticized for only having 26 career wins and no championship, compared to his father, who has 76 career wins and 7 championships. This is pressure that I'm sure Jr. saw coming going into his rookie year in Cup. But his father passing away in a last lap crash didn't help things, as all eyes were on Dale Earnhardt Jr. after that. Dale Jr. may not have garnered the success his dad had on track, but he did inherit a trait from him, and that was toughness. His father came from an era in NASCAR where everyone in the garage area was tough as nails, and that was just the vibe throughout the garage. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was the toughest out of the bunch, and a lot of people would say that. And it's true from what you've seen from Dale Earnhardt. Now, people will look at the thumbnail to this video and disagree, and will mention that there's better bounce back stories like Davey Allison's eventful 1992 season, where he fought through multiple injuries, but it wasn't enough to keep him out of championship contention.
Yo, his eyes, Davey Allison's eyes in that video right there remind me a lot of what happened with Ryan Preece a few years ago at Daytona. I don't know if you guys remember that, watching that race, how after he flipped at Daytona the next week during practice sessions when they was interviewing him, his eyes looked bloodshot red like that. I guess I forgot the name of the condition that has on drivers when they have wrecks like that and they get injured and have sort of head injuries in that regard. But it's always scary when I see somebody with that, because you think something is really, really majorly wrong with their head when they have, bloodshot red eyes like that. But as I digress, let's continue on.
Ernie Irvan coming back after almost losing his life in a practice crash at one of the fastest tracks in NASCAR, Michigan. From literally holding on by a thread in the hospital to winning again at the top level. Or when Kyle Busch injured himself in a lower series race, missed a quarter of the Cup season, came back, got on the road, and won a ton of races and proceeded to win the Cup Series championship.
That was definitely from Kyle Busch's standards, that was definitely a shocker when he came back in 2015 like that after that Daytona wreck. I thought he'd be out the rest of the season, or at least half of the season, not really, and take the rest of the back end of that season trying to get back to what he was. But he came back with a vengeance, and yeah, he did. Underneath that format, he did end up getting the championship and getting the job done. He went on an absolute tear, so can't do nothing but give him credit right there.
Wrong. Those are some incredible bounce back stories, but the reason I say that Dale Earnhardt Jr. is the bounce back king is because compared to those other comeback stories, Jr. had to consistently bounce back from many injuries throughout his entire career. So many incidents that should have ended his racing career and should have slowed him down, but it didn't.
That Fontana wreck he had, I forgot what year it was that happened. Was it I don't want to misinterpret it what year it was. I know it was in the early 2000s. I don't know if it was 2004 or 2002. Maybe I'm way off. Maybe it's from a different year, but I remember him in the radio chatter after that wreck screaming, "Help me, help me." And I think this was a time period where the safer barriers was still not fully implemented, and there were still hard walls at certain tracks. So that was definitely a vicious wreck.
It goes deeper than that, though. Dealing with trauma early in his Cup career and making the biggest move of his career and having it not work out for a while. I would say Dale Jr. wore a cape throughout his driving career, and many circumstances tried so hard to completely remove that cape. But every time something got in his way, he kept bouncing back.
I don't.
The main injury Dale Earnhardt Jr. suffered is concussions. It's what actually made him retire earlier than expected. A lot of people think Jr. suffering concussions was something that occurred late in his career, but this actually goes back to his Grand National days before he got to the Cup Series. Dale Jr. believes that he suffered his first concussion back in 1998. It wasn't a big story though. As a matter of fact, when a driver suffered a concussion back in the day, it wasn't a big story like how it is now. Dale Jr. said himself that he thought it was just part of the risk of racing.
That's the get down when it came to a lot of sports around that time period, not just NASCAR, football, hockey, a lot of different sports where guys would get stingers and get their head rattled like that. And people think it was just you being soft. You felt like, the pain in your head or the symptoms of a concussion was just part of the business. Even in wrestling, like this was par for the course. So I give him credit for being able to continue on even and push through that, just like a lot of drivers and a lot of athletes in their time periods. But concussions ain't no joke, man. That ain't something you could just, wish away and act like it didn't happen. So I get it.
Concussion didn't stop him from winning the Busch Series title that year. As a matter of fact, he went on to win back-to-back titles, winning the Busch Series championship in 1999 as well. Life is pretty great at this point for Earnhardt Jr. outside of the concussion, which he shrugged off at the time. He's in the Cup Series now, racing alongside with Dad, and because of this, it made Jr. end up having the relationship he always wanted with his father. Not only Jr. is out there racing, something that Big E was so passionate about, but he was winning. And every time Jr. found success, you can just see how proud Earnhardt Sr. was. This beautiful story had to take a dark turn, though.
The fact when they were running in the Cup Series together and running the races together and stuff like that, it was always cool to see. It reminded me of the Ken Griffey Jr. and Ken Griffey Sr. type of relationship where they both was in the majors playing, father and son on the same team and stuff like that, or on the same field and stuff. That was always really cool. I always thought their relationship in terms of on the track was always a cool thing to see. Two different generations basically colliding in a impromptu race. It was always fun to watch.
Tragedy strikes, it can affect you as a person for the rest of your life in the worst way possible. You ask yourself, how do you even move forward? And that's what Dale Jr. had to be asking himself after his dad passed. He straps aboard his race car the next week at Rockingham, and it's hard for him to push through at first. Don't worry though, it's light at the end of the tunnel.
I remember that Rockingham race too, watching that. I'm thinking, God damn, because I think he ended up wrecking like within the first couple laps. I was just like, I felt so bad for him in that moment. Felt like everything was just falling apart for him. He had a lot on his shoulders, so I give him a lot of credit, in terms of what Junior was able to do going forward. Because that was definitely, I couldn't even imagine going through something like that. Losing your father one week and then the next week, you trying to go back to doing your job and continue pushing forward, and you end up wrecking in the opening laps of the next Cup race. It's pretty crazy. And winning Daytona, the big win, and then what Dover looks like.
Focusing ahead is what Dale Jr. did after dealing with a heavy loss. He was looking for more going into the 2002 season after finishing 8th in points in his sophomore Cup season. The first 3 races were terrible with a best finish of 16th. And then the next 3 races, he scored 3 straight top 5s. Going into Auto Club, Jr. sat 6th in the points, hoping for a smooth day and hopefully coming out of the race in the top 5 in points. But that wasn't the case. On lap 185, battling with Kevin Harvick, Dale Earnhardt Jr. went head first into the wall in turn 4. It was pretty obvious Jr. was banged up, but it was a huge relief that he was out of the car, especially after hearing his audio after the wreck.
Oh, he did put it in there.
Help me. Hurry up.
Everyone just wanted to see that window net come down and see the driver climb out. During this time period, that's what everyone was focused on after.
I wonder if something happened to Kevin Harvick's car that made him proceed to the left like that. Was he trying to make it to pit road, or he have a tire going down, or what happened right there? Seemed kind of weird and odd.
Witness a fatality just a year prior. It was later revealed by Dale Jr. that he hid his concussion and NASCAR was not happy with him.
Are you disappointed in Dale Earnhardt?
Yeah, that's fair to say. Yes, I am. I think in today's environment that the competitors on the racetrack should share in the desire for everybody that they're competing against to be right.
It actually seemed like
How can he hide a concussion? Like, even in this time period, wouldn't there be like you got to go through the infield care center, right? And like, I don't get how you can hide it. If somebody got dazed in a wreck, you would think they would do concussion protocol from a heavy hit, just in general with any car crash wreck, you know. So I don't get how you can hide it, but maybe things weren't as advanced back then, and people didn't take concussions as seriously, even in the early 2000s, which is pretty crazy. But I don't know, that him being able to hide a concussion is kind of crazy to me.
Was good with Junior as he went on to finish fifth at Martinsville the very next week and then win in Talladega. Ricky Craven once said that once you suffer a concussion, you're not the driver you once were. With Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's odd because the next couple of seasons will be the peak of his career. In 2003, Jr. finished third in the points, and he would never finish that high in the standings again for the rest of his career. After finishing that high in the standings in 2003, everyone had Jr. penciled in as one of the championship favorites going into the 2004 season. He kicked off the season by winning the biggest race of the year, the Daytona 500. Over the next 10 races, he scored 2 more wins and was the points leader going into the summer. Junior was having a dream season, but like always, he ended up having another holdup in his career. Dale Earnhardt Jr. early in his career ran sports car races on the occasion, trying to make himself a better road course driver. He ran the 2001 and 2004 Rolex 24 races. He was planning on running in the sports car race at Sonoma in 2004, and while practicing for the race, disaster will strike.
NASCAR star Dale Earnhardt Jr. suffered what we are told are minor injuries in a frightening crash and fire this morning during practice for today's American Le Mans Series Grand Prix of Sonoma at Infineon Raceway in Sonoma, California. Earnhardt apparently lost traction and spun hard into the concrete with the back of the car first. As it came to a stop on track, it burst into flames. Apparently, the fuel cell or the connectors to that cell were compromised. You see a large amount of fuel on the ground. From on board the car, here's the impact. You'll also see a shot from inside the car as Earnhardt was apparently dazed in the impact. And although it's rather frightening to look at, you'll see that he immediately started to get himself out of the car as the flagging crews brought the session to a halt.
It looked like his whole helmet
and fire extinguisher
started to get
Dale Jr.'s magical season took a turn real quick. With minor burns that he suffered in the crash, he would need a relief driver for New Hampshire, and Martin Truex ended up being the guy. A lot of people thought this was going to be something that would go on for a while, but it ended up being for only one race, as Dale Jr. wouldn't need a relief driver for the rest of the season. Now, how did Jr. perform after these injuries? It wasn't great at first. Besides finishing 5th at Watkins Glen, he had finishes outside the top 20 at Pocono, the Brickyard, and Michigan. After that rough stretch, Jr. got his mojo back, winning the Bristol night race. After that win, this started a hot streak for the driver of the number 8 as he racked up 6 top 10s in the next 7 races, including the win in the fall Talladega race. You know, the one where he got a little too excited in victory lane.
Well, I don't mean shit right now. Daddy's done 1 here 10 times.
After 2 rough races in a row at Martinsville and Atlanta, he won Phoenix. And
that was definitely not the move when he said that. You know, I didn't have a problem with it. You know, I thought he was just showing true emotion and true happiness about being able to win. So NASCAR was just being real ridiculous right with that nonsense.
Time the finale rolled around, Junior found himself mathematically still in contention to win the championship. And even though he didn't win it, it was very impressive to keep himself in the championship hunt after suffering minor burns during the summer of 2004. Junior's career will quiet down a bit over the next couple of years. 2005 ended up not being good, 2006 was solid, and 2007 was just all over the place. Had the speed, but would end up having tons of mechanical failures and missed the chase, his final year at DEI. Dale made the biggest move of his career in 2008, joining Hendrick Motorsports, and the hype was real. The relationship started off beautiful right away, with Junior winning the shootout and his duel. He goes on to be top 3 in points all regular season, and then the chase approaches. It didn't go well, and he would end up finishing 12th in the points. Let's fast forward to 2011. Junior was coming off back-to-back terrible seasons. Having won, missed the chase, things were just miserable for him. No, I'm not about to go into too much detail about his resurgence he had from 2011 to 2015. I did a video on that, by the way. But long story short, Junior was getting his mojo back after a horrific 2 seasons. Made the chase for the first time since 2008 and finished 7th in the standings. In 2012, Junior had an even better season. He led the points for the first time since 2004, and he broke his winless streak. When the chase came, Junior was having an okay playoff run. He wasn't showing that he was the favorite, but he wasn't terrible either. If he wanted to put himself in the championship hunt, he would have to get out of Talladega unscathed. That sadly didn't happen. Junior was caught up in a 25-car wreck. Okay, it's not...
That wreck was crazy. When Michael Waltrip cut off Tony Stewart like that, or vice versa. I forgot when they were all like that 4-car wide thing was underneath a blanket. That was a crazy old wreck. And Junior and Jimmy, they was all up in the middle of that. Didn't really have anywhere to go. I never forget seeing Clint Boyer's in-car camera angle of that. He literally was like getting thrown around like a rag doll up in the car. It was crazy.
When it comes to his championship chances. But there was a bigger issue after that race. He suffered another concussion. And this time, Junior actually took the time to heal instead of racing with it. The concussion had him sit out 2 weeks, missing Kansas and Charlotte. At the time, we just thought this concussion came out of nowhere, but a few months before Talladega, Dale Jr. had a violent crash at a Kansas test. And in his book, Racing to the Finish, he goes into detail talking about how the crash really made him feel sick, detached, and nauseous. And when the Talladega wreck happened, it obviously didn't make it any better. While Junior is sitting on the sidelines, you start to wonder if he can pick up where he left off. And well, he actually did. The rest of the 2012 season wasn't anything to brag about as he scored 2 top 10s in the last 4 races. But in 2013, Junior was on it. He started off the season with 5 straight top 10s, then was alright after that, maintained to stay inside the top.
Junior was in 2013, I remember this vividly. He was a threat. I'm not saying he was a championship, like he was going to go for the championship, but he definitely was a guy that the top few guys in terms of Kenseth and Jimmy and a few others, if they had trouble towards the back end of the chase, he would have definitely been there. He definitely stepped his game up. I was really impressed with him this season. He did what he was supposed to do. He did his thing.
Points throughout the regular season. But man, when the playoffs started, Junior turned on the Jets.
Yep.
After Chicagoland, as he blew an engine in that race and finished 35th. But after that, his worst finish in the chase was 15th. Dale Jr. scored 8 top 10s during the 10-race chase, and if you eliminate that engine failure at Chicagoland, he would have been mathematically in contention to win the title that year. Dale Jr. carried that momentum into 2014, and let me just say,
he was on Jimmy's ass at the end of that Dover race. I give him credit. He had me scared. As a Jimmy fan, I was like, damn, Junior is right on Jimmy's ass and giving him everything he can handle, boy. Because he was doing his thing. Junior was really at his apex at this point to me.
2014 was a dream season for Junior fans like myself. He started off the season winning the Daytona 500, then led the points all the way up until Texas. Why did his points lead disappear? Dale Jr. made an uncharacteristic error. On the trioval, he clipped the grass, destroying his car, and it sent his car hard into turn 1. He climbed out without needing any assistance, and it seemed like he was fine just going off of his interview. But it was actually something wrong. Dale Jr. revealed in his book, Racing to the Finish, that he went home that day with a headache and visual issues. He also went into detail about how he was having anxiety. A lot of sleepless nights during this time period, but you wouldn't know something was wrong because his performance on the track was sharp. He damn near won Darlington, got a top 10 at Richmond, and he was looking strong early on at Talladega until the end where he was trapped in the back and decided to not make a charge through the field and received a lot of criticism for it because that's not like Dale Jr. The concussion symptoms was really messing with Jr., but it didn't stop him from having a very successful 2014 season. He swept Pocono and continued to show a lot of muscle throughout the season. He ran well in the chase, but a lot of bad luck struck the 88 team. Fastest car at Kansas, but blew a tire. Mechanical issues at Charlotte after running top 10. And he ended up getting caught up in a wreck at Talladega. This string of bad races eliminated him from championship contention, but no worries, there's still races out there to go win. Martinsville would end up being the place Dale Jr. ended up winning, earning his first Grand 5 o'clock. And I lost my mind after he won this race. It really hit me that this dude had won 4 freaking races in a single season for the first time since 2004. I didn't think of anything else.
I was proud of him when he was able to string together that many wins in the season. He really looked like he was turning the corner in terms of his performance just on a consistent basis going, week to week. I thought he was doing a good job. I thought that would lead to him having a good, maybe even great 2015 season. I thought he'd be a championship contender the next year, just based off of how he ran in 2014 as a whole.
Knowing what I know now about what Dale Jr. was battling throughout 2014 with the concussion symptoms, it makes his 2014 season look even more impressive. 2015 was sort of a repeat of 2014. 3 wins, up there as one of the most consistent drivers in the field, accomplishing all of this while still battling concussion symptoms. Jr. would take some pretty severe hits during this season and 2016, and after a while, enough was enough.
We're here today to confirm the news you received this morning that I've decided to make this season my last as a NASCAR Cup driver.
Man, when he announced his retirement, I remember feeling a lot of sadness in my thought process when it happened. I was just like, damn. Because regardless of what people want to make of it, he was still a cash cow. He was the top, the most popular driver in the sport, obviously by a country mile. And I knew when he retired and guys like Gordon and Stewart and all those guys were starting to retire, I just knew it was going to leave a huge, gigantic void in the sport of NASCAR as a whole. And him leaving the sport definitely showed.
Sitting out for the remainder of the 2016 season because of his concussion symptoms, 2017 would be it for Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Cup career. Nobody influenced his decision. It was all Dale Jr. who made the call to retire. Obviously, constant concussions is the reason behind this decision. There's people out there that would describe Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s career as underwhelming, just looking at the statistics. 26.
I wouldn't say his career is underwhelming. I think he accomplished what he needed to accomplish. He had over 20 plus wins. He's won multiple races on the Crown Jewel events. He won multiple championships in the Series Below Cup. So people say he underwhelmed. I just think that's them trying to make him live up to the same moniker that his father had. And to me, it's completely unfair. You consider the fact that only 2 other drivers were able to kind of live up to the Dale Senior moniker, all the championships and wins and everything in totality, and what they were able to accomplish in Jimmy and Richard Petty. So yeah, if Dale Jr. underachieved or was underwhelming in people's eyes, then there's a lot of guys here who were underwhelming and didn't underachieve. So people like that can just kick rocks, in my opinion.
Wins, 2 Daytona 500s, winning the All-Star race as a rookie. Not a bad resume if you ask me, but he's been compared to his father, who ended up having way more success. These people overlooked his tenacity, and that really needs to be admired. From multiple injuries, losing his father, and having the spotlight on him at all times, he put up a good-looking resume that many drivers would kill to have. Not everyone can deal with that many hurdles and still go out there and perform at an extremely high level. Dale did just that. Bounce back after bounce back after bounce back. Nothing kept him down for long, and I really wanted to highlight that because it doesn't get acknowledged at all. Everyone felt like Junior had to follow a certain path throughout his career. He didn't.
People think that, they also think that, he was, basically shoehorned in and basically given the keys to the kingdom without having to earn it, in their opinion. But based off what Junior talked about on his podcast, when he talked about his relationship with his father and the things he had to do on the come up, it wasn't like the shit was easy. He had to really earn what he was able to accomplish. So, and then people don't ever take into consideration the fact that he was on HMS, which had 2 other first ballot Hall of Famers on that team for majority of Junior's tenure there, in Gordon and Johnson. So it's not like he was on a team that was just centered around him the entire time. Yeah, he was the top guy in the sense of being the top most popular driver in the sport and bringing in a lot of endorsements and sponsors. But in terms of performance stuff like that, he was always sitting kind of third fiddle on that team. So people need to acknowledge that as well. It's not like he joined a team where everything was just centered around him solely. But you know how certain fans are.
Junior did it his way.
Facts. And there you have it. Like I said, another good, interesting video from Elite Precision 29. Like I said, another NASCAR YouTube channel that's on the come up and on the rise going forward. So you guys should check him out. Like I said, I like Junior. He's always been one of the guys I've always enjoyed watching. Liked his career, liked the mentality and mindset he had throughout his career, and being able to push through all of the pressures and confines that affect our sport. So, you know, people who give him his flack, I mean, I can understand part of it in terms of, you know, maybe feeling like he should have accomplished a little bit more to garner the amount of attention and notoriety he got. But like, you can't. It's not his fault. He was Dale Senior's son, so he did what he had to do. You know, he's a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. And you know, I give him credit for being able to bounce back, like put no pun intended with the title, be able to bounce back and perform the way he performed throughout his career. So he's always gonna be a missed driver. Always gonna miss him in the car. I would like for the next couple of years for him to do little one-off races here or there, just to keep his name in the media, keep his name in NASCAR in general. Maybe even become a full car cup owner in the future. But the way things are going, we'll see how that plans out. But I've held y'all up long enough. Thank you guys all for watching. And as always, until we meet again.